Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The end of Call of Duty is on the horizon, but it's not the true end that you might be jumping to the conclusion of when you hear that statement. Obviously, you hear that, you're probably like, oh, they're done making Call of Duties forever. Not necessarily the case here. It's almost the end of part of Call of Duty and the essential start of a new one, if you will. I'm gonna explain in this video. There's a lot to talk about. A few weeks back, I caught this video from a creator by the name of Icebergs talking about how Call of Duty's 2028 reboot is gonna change everything for the franchise. When I first saw that title, I'm going, wait, there's no way that somebody out there's got details on COD 2028. And I'll have a link to this video in the description below. It's a really good video. I highly recommend you go and check it out. But in this video, Icebergs is essentially talking about how Call of Duty's timeline for their current library of games is running out. And at some point here, they're gonna have to go away from the current Call of Duty storyline that they've created over the past however many years, right? Throughout all their COD games, and especially since they've unified everything and made one canon story, more specifically like in the Warzone era for Call of Duty, they're gonna run out of things to do in this, and they're gonna have to do a hard reset, get back to either a fresh Call of Duty timeline, a fresh Call of Duty multiverse or universe, and restart and give us something different but the same, if that makes any sense. I'll explain throughout the video here, but essentially Call of Duty has exhausted the timeline that they currently have in their library of games. They've done games in the past. They've covered the major wars. They've covered the 80s, 90s, etc. They've definitely covered present times, obviously, with all the Modern Warfare. They've done a lot of futuristic stuff as well. Black Ops 3, Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare, near future stuff. Every sort of main timeline has been hit. And as I mentioned just a bit ago, in the Warzone era of Call of Duty, because they were so hard pressed on connecting everything to Warzone, which maybe has its pros, definitely has its cons, they've created this Call of Duty universe, sort of like a cinematic universe, if you will, similar to Marvel, where everything is connected, where yes, the Modern Warfare timeline is connected to the Black Ops timeline, which is connected to the Vanguard timeline, which is connected to all this other stuff, right? We've seen the same story basically since Modern Warfare 2019 in the reboot there. This timeline has all been brought together, so technically everything connects, and they've retconned things in the past. They've said, oh, this is canon from previous COD games, and yes, that ties into these current games and everything going on here. And with that, they've covered all the storylines. We've seen the Modern Warfare storyline play out throughout various eras. We've seen the Black Ops storyline play out, and everything being connected to Warzone has muddied that story in some ways. It's offered some interesting things here and there, like they've created connections where you're like, okay, I mean, I could see how that works, and that's really cool. It seems like you definitely made that up on the spot to, you know, get it to work. And back in the day when we first saw this piece of lore, this part of the story, it's like, yeah, no way that's connected to anything, or there's no way that these things are tethered together. And then they say, hey, yeah, here they are, here's how it works. There's some cool things there, but then there's also just some ridiculous things where it's like the timeline of Captain Price and all these other characters, you know, from Black Ops instead. I've somehow been going on at the same time, but there was so little connection between the two, and it's like, oh yeah, no, it's all happening in the same story, right? So you get some strange things there, and this overall everything has to be connected now situation has essentially given them a timeline, and that timeline is running out. We know about the future of Call of Duty thanks to a bunch of different leaks and rumors from insider information from various sources. Obviously, Black Ops 7 coming up this year, a sequel to Black Ops 2, an extension of Black Ops 6, and continuing the story and the narrative from that. Next year with COD 2026, we know we're going to be getting Modern Warfare 4, obviously following up the events of Modern Warfare 2019, Modern Warfare 2, and most recently, Modern Warfare 3. We also know now, because of other recent leaks that we've covered in the past few days, that Call of Duty 2027 is going to be a brand new sub-franchise. So it's not going to be some Advanced Warfare 2 or Vanguard 2 or something out there like that. It's going to be something entirely new. We don't know what it's going to be. We won't know what it's going to be for a long time, because that is so far in the future. We do know, though, according to the leaks, which again are just leaks, like this stuff absolutely is subject to change, but according to the leaks, 2027 is going to be another modern title, just a new sub-franchise, probably going to introduce some new characters. But if they're continuing with the trend now, this new sub-franchise is still going to find a way to connect to Black Ops 7, Modern Warfare 4, the other storylines of the franchise, all connected to Warzone as it stands. So they'll still all link together in some way, shape, or form. But what about beyond that? That's where we're talking about this quote-unquote end for Call of Duty. And when I say end, I don't mean for the entire franchise. I merely mean for the timeline. A reset is coming. The end of this timeline is coming, and 2028 seems to be when that's going to happen. Now, we have no idea who's going to be developing COD 2028. If we're going off the sequential order, it should be Treyarch, because we'll have Treyarch 2025, Infinity Ward 2026, Sledgehammer 2027, 3-year dev cycle resets, Treyarch 2028. Again, just way too far out to actually know for certain. So many things are going to change between now and then. Once we get to that point in time, beyond 2027, there aren't more timelines that Call of Duty can necessarily cover. Ink Slashers talked about how they've never really covered the early 2000s era. They've never really done major stories on that. There's plenty to cover in that area. There's certainly storylines that could connect, you know, especially with how much they've expanded the general COD universe from, you know, 80s, 90s, into modern times, 2010s, 2020s, and even a little bit beyond that as well. Like, they could absolutely fill some gaps there, but it doesn't leave them with a ton to work with, because they're basically now having to write a story that has to fit within a story where you know what's coming after, and it just sort of makes the whole situation a bit more difficult. So they could touch on the early 2000s, but they also could reinvent the wheel a little bit. Stick to a modern title that's in a completely different universe. Obviously, when you get to this, you create a situation where there's a lack of familiarity. We know that in the COD storyline right now, when Infinity Ward rolls around, we are going to get this epic expansion of Captain Price, Ghost, those classic Modern Warfare characters that we know and love. We know when Treyarch rolls around, we're going to get that expansion of Woods and now Menendez and all these other Black Ops classic characters that we know and love. And that's a huge part of marketing. When you're, you know, watching the NBA finals and the Call of Duty commercial comes up like it does every summer, it seems like, and you see Captain Price walk onto the screen, you're like, oh man, that's COD's back, baby. The cycle, right? You know what you're getting out of that. When they go through and they have to do a hard reboot, because that time is coming, the end of this timeline is on the horizon. When they do a hard reset here, they got to create a new universe, a new storyline, new characters, something to flesh out and something to expand upon. Call of Duty is a moneymaker. It is a money printing machine. It's why Microsoft wanted it as a part of their Activision Blizzard King deal. They know it's going to sell for Game Pass. They know they could use it as day one launch titles on their new consoles to get players to buy those. They know that this thing year in and year out is going to sell hundreds of millions of copies. It's going to make so much money through microtransactions, battle passes, the premium title, everything like that. Not going away anytime soon. This is a guaranteed massive profit every single fall, and that's why we have the yearly Call of Duty cycle, even though it really should probably be every other year at minimum in order to allot for actual polished finished games to release. That's besides the point, though. We'll rant about that a different day. With this new universe, they've got to create something engaging. They've got to create something that still screams, this is Call of Duty, so it's the same. You know what you're getting out of the franchise, but it's different, and it's the beginning of a new timeline in Call of Duty. That hard reboot is in order, and it's coming up maybe a little bit quicker than you might realize here. Obviously, you just think, okay, they're going to keep telling the story of Price and Woods and Mason and whoever else they can bring into Modern Warfare Black Ops, the two premium sub-franchises. As I've said multiple times, we're so far out from all this happening, but also in the grand scheme of things, it's not that far out. Like, they're absolutely already planning long-term on stuff like this. I mean, 2027's in development right now. 2028, not that far behind. The higher ups at Microsoft, Activision, whoever here, whoever else has their hand in the pot at this point, they're planning on something here, and that 2028 hard reboot certainly makes a whole lot of sense, especially when you also go check out Iceberg's video. He also expands on this in a fantastic way as well. Like I said, I'll have a link to that down in the description below if you want to go and check it out. But thought this was a very interesting conversation. The end of COD as we know it right now is coming, and potentially a new beginning for Call of Duty is going to quickly follow that. So something to monitor as we see these new games drop in the coming years. I know it's crazy to talk about like the timeline in a yearly standpoint just because it seems so distant, but we'll get more and more details on this. Like, it'll actually start becoming a real thing when we start to see new leaks and rumors surface from insider information, whether it's Tom Henderson, Ghost, to Hope, Charlie Intel, some of those other main players in the inside info game. So in the coming months and years, we're going to get some pretty important details on this, probably long before it happens, and we'll have a much clearer picture of what the real timeline is going to be here. But that said, that's going to wrap things up. If you guys enjoyed this video, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, you want to ensure that each and every single day you're up to date with all things going on in COD, whether it's small scale, large scale like this, and everything in between. This is the place to be, so feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.